They're vertically integrated. Or northbound. One of them is he here? Yes, he's one of them. That guy has speaking with oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
We're on every day. Not about 1,100. A lot of people it's lovely to meet you. Nice to see you again. Oh. How are you? How's it going, man?
I taught him that, I think. I learned it from my daughter's class. So it is. You can't believe we're actually at it again. It is really exciting to be here. No, be honest. When it is to be in this atmosphere again, it pumps you up. To be able to see with old friends, to come together for a great cause. And it's really heartwarming. Like when I literally just drove up, all of a sudden you get uplifted, and that you got this phenomenal team that wants to make a difference. Not only, I'm not talking about us as MPs, I'm talking about all of you. It takes a team to be able to get this done. Some of us have had the privilege of being able to be elected and move forward. But ladies and gentlemen, this is about you. This is about you. This is about your future. This is about your family. So thank you very much for that. And where's Terry? Before we get Terry here, right? I just want to be able to say, my job is to announce all the members of Parliament that are here. Terry is an awesome salesman. He literally, I have a long list of MPs that came here, and it's not because we were bribed. I think he might have had some stuff on us, but in honest reality, really, what it really is. This is how we support one another. We're really proud of Terry, the work that he has done. Terry knows this. My wife and I get together with Terry and Robbie quite often. So we have a long list of questions saying, Terry, please can you explain some of these things for me? And and that's true. And he boils it down for me. And that's what type of voice that Terry is. So we are here to support Terry. So I just want to acknowledge some of the MPs for also taking the time to be here for Terry. So weighing in at, okay. Sorry, I'm always going to say that. Now we got Ken Hardy, please come on up from. Lives on cranes that was really nice. Cranes, not planes. Cranes. Cranes. Yeah, that's the other stuff I do, but I can't talk about right now. And also, somebody who's got tremendous experience not only at the municipal level, at the provincial level, Gordy Hogue from South Surrey. By the way, no one can outdress Gordy. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, he fought his way to get here. Okay, that's how committed he was. Look at the scar. Okay. Yeah. And also, the member of Parliament from North Vancouver, Jonathan Wilkinson. Jonathan we cut some steel together just recently. That's right. And a very good friend of mine and a good comrade who has we work together in many different fronts from Delta, Carla Cultural. somebody who you know extremely well. I have a little bit of a nickname. What you really don't know is the true nickname is I might be called a badass, but the true kick-ass here is Jody Wilson. He does not get no certain answer, okay? And Cody, you didn't run into Jody at all, did you?
Yeah, I did.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We're here to support all of you. And we, in front of you, when it comes to what we're talking about jobs, the future and stuff, at the end of the day, myself, the majority of us who are here, whether you came 10 years ago or over 100 years ago, we are all new to this land. We're all immigrants, and it's our it's our First Nations, our Indigenous peoples who have been here are the ones that have welcomed us with open arms. So I want to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory, the unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and Squamish First Nations, which we always need to acknowledge. So thank you very much for allowing all of us to have Okay, and now pass me off to Jody, right? Right? Good, okay. Kick-ass, sorry.
Give it up for Badass. Well, thank you to Harj and to all of our amazing members of Parliament who are here to celebrate Terry and to congratulate Terry on this really important night. I am incredibly pleased to be a member of Parliament for Vancouver Granville. I know there's some Vancouver Granvilleites here. I also wanted to acknowledge the traditional territory that we're on of the Coast Salish people, Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. And we're here tonight to celebrate, I'm here tonight to introduce an amazing member of Parliament, a guy by the name of Terry Beech, who is the current member of Parliament for Burnaby North Seymour. Is he coming up now? Okay. Okay, well, he's coming up now. He's so anxious and so keen, as he always is. I was asking all of my MP colleagues and all of the BC colleagues that are in here, what are the adjectives we can use to describe Terry Beech? Hardworking, determined, steadfast. All of those adjectives describe the work that Terry Beech does as an MP and certainly as a parliamentary secretary in Ottawa. He is entirely, another one, committed, and he takes on every file that he has with vigor. He is committed in Ottawa to ensure that he represents the interests and the views, the diversity of views of his constituents of Burnaby North Seymour. You could not have a better member of Parliament. When he's back in the riding, which is quite often, he can be heard on the phones, he can be seen knocking on doors. I knocked on a door in my riding once, and one of the people that answered is a Terry Beech volunteer, so I thought that was pretty awesome. But Terry goes to seniors meetings, he attends Hats Off Day, he goes to Deep Cove Days, and he has built substantive relationships with Indigenous peoples, which is really important in this riding and throughout our province. And for Terry Beech and for all of us standing here, we, as Badass said, could not be here without all of you, all of the volunteers, all of the people who have supported Terry from before he became elected in 2015. All of you knocking on doors, calling, donating, being supportive and talking to neighbors is what is going to ensure that Terry Beech gets elected in 2019, and we all introduce one of the most amazing member of parliaments in all of Canada, my very, very good friend and colleague, Terry Beech.
Unnecessary.
We all fall for Terry.
Oh my gosh, to echo Arjun's words, can you believe that we're already doing this again? I woke up this morning and I looked to see how long ago exactly it was. And in fact, it was, if you go 4 years back, we're outside of 11 days, so at the exact same time, when a bunch of people in this room had a vision and got together and felt that we could have a Liberal member of Parliament in Burnaby for the first time in 60 years, and we made it happen. It was because of your hard work. I don't take this job for granted. I wake up every single morning so excited to get up and represent the good people of Burnaby, North Vancouver. But our colleagues in British Columbia actually made this job so much better by making sure that I had so many amazing colleagues to work on behalf of British Columbians in the House of Commons. Can we please get a hand for all of our great members of Parliament? I want to acknowledge the hard work of everybody in this room. You know, a lot of people ask me, and you can see we're overflowing into the streets, which is a very exciting thing. You know, why is it, Terry, why did you get nominated, or chose to get nominated first in British Columbia or in Western Canada? And there's only one real answer to that. I didn't. It's not about me. It's about you guys. We celebrated last Christmas our 100,000th doorknob. We have had success because people have been willing to donate their time and their money to this movement that we've created in Burnaby and North Vancouver. So when the requirements came out to be elected or to be nominated for the 2019 campaign, we, as a group, got our application in 21 days. It was the first application to go in all of candidates. That's the kind of organization that's going to help us win in 2019. The other thing that everybody here knows is that we have a bit of a secret weapon. And that is, of course, somebody who's way better than me. That's my wife, Beech. So I said in the last election that when it came to family, that I was going to put Ravi #1 and Canada #2. And that was really putting Canada #1 because I can't do this job without her. And it was supposed to be a little bit of a reveal, a little bit of a secret, but she can't really keep it a secret. But I'm very happy to announce that Ravi is in fact 19 weeks pregnant, and in the next election there will be 3 beaches on the ballot. Shaking a little bit. I'm so excited about it. I want to tell you a story about another Beech that's here tonight. And that's my brother. You can see Doug Beech standing up back there in the back. If for any reason at all I ever cut you off in traffic, it was Doug. It wasn't me. When Doug and I were growing up, when we were about 12, our parents got divorced. And at 13, I moved out of the house for the first time. My brother went into foster care. And things were already pretty tough before they got divorced. Doug wanted to play hockey, but he couldn't get the ice time. We couldn't afford the equipment, so he played baseball instead. And he played baseball very well. Don't catch for him if he's pitching; he'll knock you over. Doug and I were very lucky because despite those hard times, we lived in Canada. Canada is a strong, confident nation that believes in investing in our young people. So in spite of the fact that no one in our family had ever gone to university, we ended up both getting scholarships and getting degrees at great Canadian institutions. And what we learned from that, we actually created an organization together called Twinbro Local Leaders. And over 13 years, the two of us and some of the people in this room, school trustee candidate Aaron for Vision Vancouver is here, who also helped us out with this project. In the last 13 years, 35,000 British Columbians have gone through Twinbro local leader programs and have won millions of dollars in scholarships. And that's because of that guy right there in the back of the room. And I want to say, it's no accident. My brother is a successful entrepreneur. He's an instructor at BCIT. And of course, I'm your member of Parliament. And that was only possible because Canada invested in us. And I want to make sure that that continues to happen for the next generation. We've all noticed, certainly we've noticed as we've grown up, that things have gotten harder. Tuition is more expensive. House prices are getting out of control. Paying for childcare is like having a second mortgage, and let's face it, inequality in Canada, just like the United States before us, has been increasing. So in the last election, we promised to make things a little easier for our families by introducing the Canada Child Benefit. A benefit that puts more money in the hands of 9 in 10 families in Burnaby, North Vancouver. And actually, I've run the science data because that's what kind of nerd I am. And it's actually more than 9 out of 10 families in Burnaby and in North Vancouver that benefit from that great program. Now, we did that while we lowered taxes for the middle class and while we increased taxes for the top 1%. And you'll never guess what happened. Last year, we had the fastest growing economy in the G7. We've had the lowest unemployment that we've ever seen in 40 years. And that's just the short-term benefits. But I want everybody here to think about the value in the long term, about taking 300,000 children out of poverty. And the fact that those kids, like my brother and I before us, will be invested in by all of us to ensure that they are the next doctors, the next lawyers, God willing, the next entrepreneurs, the next members of Parliament, and that they will have success because their families have the resources that they need to invest in them. We're not just investing in our children. We're investing in our country's future because that is what strong and confident countries do. We're investing billions in infrastructure, green infrastructure, social infrastructure, transportation infrastructure. And we're doing it in partnership with the provinces and municipal governments to make sure that local priorities are Ottawa's priorities. And that's a big change, ladies and gentlemen, because if you remember what it was like before, our previous government wouldn't even meet with the provinces. But since coming into office, we've worked with the provinces to introduce a new health accord that invests in our physical and mental health, to invest in childcare to make sure there's more spaces and more affordable childcare for our young families, and investing in seniors to make sure that we pull 900,000 low-income seniors out of poverty, to invest in a $40 billion historic, game-changing national housing strategy. And you know why? It's because that's what people in Burnaby and North Vancouver said that we needed to do, and to develop its skills development. We just had a big announcement, $2.5 billion to make sure everybody, all of our young people, First Nations, women, men, single mothers have the skills they need to work and get the benefits of the new economy. And that is exactly what we were elected to do, and we delivered on it. Now, the Conservatives are going to tell you that we're doing this while we're sacrificing the economy. And they're dead wrong. And you need to let them know that they're dead wrong. Never forget that in the 10 years that Stephen Harper was Prime Minister, he accrued $150 billion in debt. That is an amazing number, because when he left office, Canada had a debt of $600 billion. That means for in a 150-year time span, in the 10 years that Stephen Harper was in office, $1 out of every $4 of our national debt was accrued by that government at the same time that he had the lowest growth rates of any Canadian government since the Great Depression. His policies didn't work. His trickle-down economics didn't work. I can tell you, I went up on this very mountain and studied developmental economics at Simon Fraser University, and I know that when we invest in middle-class Canadians, when we invest in growing the middle class and in those working hard to join it, that trickle-up effect actually makes all Canadians stronger. And I know that all successful economies over the generation, doesn't matter whether it's the Babylonian Empire, the Roman Empire, Americans, need two great things in in order to make sure that your economy is successful. The first is that you need to produce things that other nations want. And increasingly, that means producing new technologies, which is why our government is investing in education and new trade agreements with countries around the world. The second thing is that you need a strong and empowered middle class. You may ask, why do they keep saying that? Why is that so important? It's because when families have the money to invest in their kids, they do better, they have more opportunities, and that's what really this is all about, making sure that our kids and our grandkids have more opportunities. And since we've done that, we've improved our position relative to the rest of the globe, and that's an amazing thing that we've done. And speaking of the global stage, I think we could all agree that the world could use a little more Canada. And that's why we're investing in empowering women, we're investing in our military and in peacekeeping, we're investing in fighting climate change. In fact, British Columbians and all of us in this room should be proud because the greatest catalyst for policy is precedent. And it was British Columbia who put together carbon pricing 10 years ago. And since that was instituted, in the first 6 years actually, per capita fossil fuel use in British Columbia went down by 16%, while it went up by 3% in the rest of Canada. And we had, at that same period of time, we had the fastest growing economy in the country, which proves that the economy and the environment can go hand in hand. And because of our precedent, we are now rolling that plan out across Canada, and we will set the example for America and China and India and Brazil to make sure that all countries of the world come together and fight climate change so that we can protect this planet for our young people. Now, there are some people outside of this event today from Dogwood who are here that are protesting. And I welcome them here. I talked to them before they came in. And just to show you how different our government is from the previous government, we don't cut off funding from people who disagree with us. We don't treat people badly that disagree with us. We listen to their concerns, we take those concerns into account, and we address those concerns. And I'd like to tell you some of the ways that we're improving our environment. And in fact, there's an entire report on my website that talks about even more things. It describes how we're going to meet our Paris Accord climate change targets. It describes how we're going to invest in the infrastructure so you can drive your electric car from Vancouver Island to Prince Edward Island. We're going to make sure that tens of billions of dollars goes into green infrastructure and renewable energy. And now, for the first time, I am so proud to be part of a government that is investing not just in protecting our environment, but restoring our environment. We're doing that by putting $1.5 billion in the Oceans Protection Plan. We invested $1.4 billion in the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. We've restored loss protections to the Fisheries Act, something that I was so proud to work on as the Parliamentary Secretary for Fisheries and Oceans. And we also changed the Oceans Act, which is going to help us meet our international targets to protect 10% of our oceans by 2020. And that's an incredible achievement because when we took office in 2015, the last government had protected less than 1% of our oceans. We are now at 7.75%, and everybody in this room can be proud of that because that represents hundreds of thousands of square kilometers of new protections, and that's exactly how we're going to protect the environment for the next generation. And you know what? We don't have a choice. We have to. Because just this week, the world has experienced some of the hottest weeks in history. And I just returned from the Hudson Bay, where they've lost a day of sea ice every year for 30 years. That's a full month of sea ice that has been lost in our Hudson Bay in one generation. And that is why we must ask all Canadians to lean in and advise our friends and neighbors that not having a climate plan is not an option. Sometimes it's a little hard to believe what it would be like if we didn't win the last election. Our scientists would still be muzzled. The media would still be ignored. There might not be a CBC, and there certainly would be less investment in the culture and the arts. The economy would be limping along just as it was for the last 10 years. And we'd be nowhere on fighting climate change. My biggest fear going into the 2019 election is the potential of going back to some of these failed policies. Progressive democracies are becoming rarer in this world. We can't take anything for granted. And that's why all of us standing on the stage need your help, each and every one of you. There's an unwritten story that happened back in 2015. A third party had never gone on to a majority government before, and a lot of people tried to guess why that was. Well, I have a theory as well. During the last election, we did something as Liberals that no government or no party trying to be the government had ever done before. A full 6 months before the election, we had knocked on a full 3 million doors right across Canada. This meant that our last platform was created and built by Canadians for Canadians. And we're going to do it again. In Burnaby, North Vancouver, we are launching the largest community conversations and consultations that this riding has ever seen. But we're going to need your help. This is not just about the people that are on the stage here with me today. It's about everyone in this room coming together to fight for the Canada that we deserve. Which means everyone here in this room needs your help. Not just with door knocking or fundraising. We need you to engage your neighbors. Have us over to your homes. Give us a chance to listen and to share how we can fight for you. And not just Liberals. We need to reach out to our friends and neighbors in all parties and share our vision for an inclusive and positive Canada, where everyone gets a fair chance to success. If we do that, then we will be successful in 2019 and continue to have the privilege to build this great country together. So if you're wondering, okay, Terry, I'm feeling a little inspired. How can I help tonight? Well, in the back we have volunteer forms. There are donation forms. We are passing around red buckets. Where are the people with the red buckets? There they are. Everyone, so normally you can fundraise, but at events like this, you can anonymously donate up to $20. I was supposed to have my wallet on me, and they took it off me when I was outside, but I had 20 bucks in there. So whoever's got my wallet, put $20 in that jar for me, and let's pass it around. Oh, and we got 20 more. Hey. Everyone to mark your calendar for the second week of October. That's when we're going to do our big fundraiser. Now, everybody here knows that normally I do my fundraiser at the end of the year, but this year we're going to move it up a couple of months because we have to make some time for baby Beech. So we're going to do it in October this year. And finally, you can reach out to all my colleagues here who would love to talk to you, take pictures, put it on social media, and share some of our good messages. And of course, get a bumper sticker, get a button. But when you're tweeting, or Facebooking, or Instagramming, or snapping, or whatever it is the kids are doing these days, 37, she keeps me looking young, but I'm 37. Tell Canadians how we're lowering taxes for small businesses to 9%, how we're investing in education and youth employment strategies, how we're investing in Indigenous communities and the new rights and reconciliation framework to make sure that our next 150 years working with Indigenous people are very different from the previous 150 years, and tell them that Canadians created 600,000 new jobs for Canadians since the last election. And certainly not least, you can tell them that I am so proud to have 18 members of caucus in British Columbia. We had 17 and we picked up Gordy just recently. So Gordy's here now, and it turned out so well that we want some more. So, the entire caucus will be heading to Vancouver Island this weekend to march in Victoria Pride and to meet with new and exciting and dynamic candidates. This is the BC launch, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to win more seats in British Columbia. If we do all of these things, and we work extra hard, and we don't take any day of the next 16 months for granted, then all of us, from the Prime Minister right down to little baby Beech, are going to have a fantastic 2019 and beyond. Thank you, everybody, for